Hey, Raiders fans. Today we need to talk about something that has been driving everyone in Silver and Black Nation absolutely crazy. The latest game against the Kansas City Chiefs wasn't just a loss. It was a masterclass in questionable decisions and baffling coaching choices. And I'm not just talking about one or two plays here and there. I mean, the entire approach from the coaching staff looked completely disconnected from what this team needs to actually compete. Honestly, it's hard to even know where to start, but let's dive into some of the most head-scratching moments from that matchup. First off, let's talk about the running game, or better yet, the lack of it. Ashton Gentry only got 6 carries in the entire game. 6. If you look at the first 12 plays alone, he had 1 carry and the rest were all Geno Smith throws. That's one play to try and establish some rhythm on the ground. 1. You might hear some excuses about the game getting out of hand, but even in the first 2 drives, the opportunity to run the ball and set something up just wasn't there. And I can't help but wonder, what's the game plan here? Are we trying to rebuild? Are we trying to win? Because if it's about building a functioning offense, wouldn't it make sense to give your young running back more chances, let him find a groove, and at least see if you can establish a running game? Instead, it felt like the coaching staff just decided to ignore that aspect completely. 6 carries for Gentry, 16 throws for Smith. It doesn't make any sense, and it's emblematic of the larger issue here. This coaching staff has no clear identity. And speaking of identity, or lack thereof, the way the Raiders handled their rookies was equally baffling. You draft 11 players, and yet the combined snaps for all of them amounted to 88. Most of those went to just 3 players. Meanwhile, guys like Darian Porter barely saw the field, despite clearly having the potential to contribute more. If the goal is development, if the plan is rebuilding, why not play the young talent you drafted? Why continue to lean on players who have proven to be liabilities while keeping the rookies on the sidelines? There's no learning in that. There's no growth. And it's not just frustrating, it's detrimental to the long-term health of this team. The rookies could be the future, but if they never get opportunities, how are they ever going to be ready when the team needs them the most? It's basic logic, yet somehow it's being ignored week after week. Then there's the quarterback situation, which is honestly baffling at this point. Pete Carroll continues to put faith in Geno Smith despite the evidence piling up that this offense isn't clicking under him. Meanwhile, someone like how Blue Kelly or a rookie with far less experience gets shuffled around, benched, or barely gets a chance to develop. It raises a serious question about how decisions are being made at the top. Are we really looking at performance and potential objectively, or is favoritism running the show? Because it sure looks like the latter. And the fallout from this is tangible. The locker room notices. Players see who gets opportunities and who doesn't. They see the discrepancies in treatment. And that kind of inconsistency doesn't build trust or cohesion. It builds frustration and doubt. The benching of Jackson Powers-Johnson in particular has become a glaring example of this double standard. He didn't play poorly in isolation, but somehow he gets singled out while other underperforming players continue to see the field. That sends a message, not just to JPJ, but to everyone in the locker room, that there's a hierarchy of favoritism at play. It's the kind of move that can quietly erode team morale. And in a game where confidence and chemistry are everything, that kind of fracture is dangerous. Fans see it, players feel it, and the result is a team that struggles not only on the scoreboard, but also in belief in themselves and in the leadership guiding them. And we haven't even touched on the defensive side yet. Adjustments were minimal, pressure on the quarterback was inconsistent, and the team looked reactive rather than proactive. You have talented players, young and older, capable of making plays, but the coaching staff repeatedly puts them in situations where they are set up to fail. It's one thing to lose a game because the opponent is better, but it's another to lose because the plan itself is flawed from the very start. Watching the Raiders execute on the field, or fail to execute, it felt like a circus act. And the worst part? Every week, it seems like the coaching staff finds new ways to baffle fans, make questionable decisions, and leave players underutilized. At the core, it all comes down to accountability, or, more accurately, the lack of it. There's a clear pattern of favoritism, mismanagement of talent, and a failure to develop young players, all while defending poor performance from veterans who should be held to a higher standard. This isn't just about one player or one game. It's about an organizational approach that seems disconnected from reality, a team that could be competitive if only the coaching staff made logical, consistent, and fair decisions. Instead, we get chaos, confusion, and a lot of frustration for everyone who's invested in this team. The Raiders have talent, both on offense and defense, but talent alone isn't enough when leadership is inconsistent, when development is stunted, and when decisions seem arbitrary. Every baffling call, every strange rotation, every unexplained benching chips away at the potential this team could have. And the fans notice. The players notice. The only people who might not notice are the ones making the decisions that continue to set this team back. That's why it's impossible to watch games like the one against Kansas City without shaking your head, wondering how a team with so much promise can be mismanaged in ways that are so glaring week after week. What really set fans off after that Kansas City disaster wasn't just the scoreline, but the way the coaching staff doubled down on their mistakes. It's one thing to get outplayed by a powerhouse team, but it's another to beat yourself over and over again through poor judgment. The Raiders looked lost, not because the players don't care, but because the leadership keeps making the same decisions that kill momentum before it even starts. And the crazy thing is, you can almost predict it now. You watch a drive begin, and before the second snap, you already know how it's going to end. 3 predictable plays, no rhythm, and a punt. It's like the script never changes. Take the benching of Jackson Powers-Johnson, for example. That move summed up everything wrong with his current coaching mentality. He gets pulled mid-game as if he's the sole reason things were falling apart, when anyone watching could see the offensive line as a whole was collapsing. Instead of evaluating the group and making strategic substitutions, they single him out like a scapegoat. That's not coaching, that's deflection. When your young players start feeling targeted instead of supported, that's how you lose a locker room. And make no mistake, these players talk. Word spreads quickly when a staff has favorites and others are constantly under the microscope. You can't preach accountability and then only apply it to certain people. It creates tension. It breeds resentment. Players start wondering what the real message is. Are we all supposed to compete? Or are we just filling roles until the coach's guys decide to show up? And when fans hear that the locker room might be growing divided, you can't even argue against it because the evidence is right there on the field. The energy is gone. The unity looks broken. Every mistake feels heavier, like the players are waiting for someone to take the blame instead of fighting through it together. Then there's Pete Carroll's insistence on defending Geno Smith after every single rough performance. Look, nobody's saying that Geno isn't trying. He's a veteran. He's battled his way back into the league, and you have to respect that. But when a quarterback consistently struggles to move the ball, misses open reads, and can't lead a scoring drive, at some point the coach has to be honest. Instead, Pete keeps standing at the podium telling us the same story about how the team didn't have enough plays or how things didn't go as planned. Those are empty words. When you've watched your quarterback stall drive after drive, protecting him with excuses doesn't build confidence. It builds confusion. The rest of the team hears that and thinks, so why does he get defended, but others get benched the second they mess up? That's how division takes root. Defending Geno also sends the wrong message about what this team stands for. The Raiders used to be about grit, accountability, and earning your spot every single day. Commitment to excellence wasn't just a slogan. It was the standard. But lately, it feels like the staff has replaced that standard with comfort zones and double standards. If one player makes a mistake, he's out. If another does the same thing but has the right connections, he's safe. That's not the Raider way. That's politics, and it's poisoning the team from the inside. And let's be real here. When Pete Carroll stood there defending Geno after a 31-0 loss, it didn't just sound tone-deaf. It sounded delusional. That performance was one of the ugliest of the season, yet the coaching staff tried to spin it like the offense just needed more chances. More chances? The Raiders had plenty of opportunities, but each one ended the same way because there was no structure, no adaptation, no leadership. It's like watching someone drive straight toward a wall and insisting everything's fine because the GPS says so. That's where we are right now. coaches justifying disaster instead of correcting it. Meanwhile, the younger players who could inject some life into the roster are sitting there, helmets in hand, wondering if they'll ever get their shot. Darian Porter, for instance, has shown flashes of talent in limited snaps. But rather than seeing if he can hold his own, they keep trotting out the same veterans who are getting torched every week. If the goal is to rebuild, play the rookies. If the goal is to win, at least make adjustments when things clearly aren't working. But this staff seems stuck in this weird middle ground where they do neither. They talk about long-term growth while refusing to actually grow. And you can tell the frustration is starting to boil over. Fans are fed up, players are losing patience, and the vibe around this team feels tense. When the same mistakes happen every week and the explanations sound rehearsed, it starts to feel like everyone's just waiting for something to blow up. The crazy part is that there's real potential buried under all this dysfunction. You see flashes of what this team could be, a tough, physical group capable of standing toe-to-toe with anyone, but the coaching decisions keep dragging them down. At this point, it's hard not to wonder if Pete Carroll has simply lost touch. He's been around forever. He's had incredible success, but maybe this version of the Raiders isn't what he's built for anymore. Coaching isn't just about experience. It's about evolution. The game changes, players change, locker rooms change, and if you can't adapt, you get left behind. Right now, the Raiders look like a team stuck in the past, following a playbook that no longer works in today's league. The schemes are outdated, the rotations make no sense, and the overall philosophy feels more reactive than proactive. Fans can handle losing seasons. They've lived through plenty. What they can't handle is watching the same nonsense repeat every week while the coaches act like it's all part of some grand plan. The truth is the Raiders aren't just losing games, they're losing belief. The players don't believe in the system, the fans don't believe in the leadership, and it's only a matter of time before that disconnect shows up in every snap. You can feel it in the way the team walks off the field. Heads down, no fire, no unity. That's not a roster problem anymore. That's a leadership problem. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the NFL rumor mill, word on the street is that Darnell Mooney is leaving Chicago and could be the missing piece to turbocharge the Raiders' offense. Sources close to the situation hint that Mooney, the talented wideout known for his speed and route running, has grown increasingly frustrated in Chicago, and whispers suggest he's ready for a fresh start under the bright lights of Las Vegas. While the Bears have struggled to fully capitalize on Mooney's explosive talent, the Raiders' passing game could be an ideal landing spot. With a quarterback looking for deep threat options and a receiving core that has had its share of inconsistencies, the addition of Mooney could bring a spark that fans have been craving. Insiders suggest that the Raiders' front office has been quietly exploring trade possibilities, and Mooney's name has consistently come up in those late-night strategy sessions. The buzz around Mooney isn't just about his athleticism. Analysts point to his uncanny ability to create separation in tight coverage and his knack for making contested catches, skills that could turn the Raiders' offense into a high-octane weapon. Imagine a field-stretching threat who can pull defenders downfield and open lanes for the run game. Las Vegas playbook could suddenly look much more dangerous. Chicago fans are reportedly disappointed, but many admit that Mooney's departure might be inevitable. Sources say that contract talks have been tense, and the Bears may not be willing to meet the wide receiver's expectations, leaving the door open for the Raiders. Meanwhile, social media is already lighting up with speculation. Could this be the start of a serious push toward contention in the AFC West? Of course, nothing is official yet, but the chatter is undeniable. If Mooney does make the jump to Las Vegas, the Raiders could suddenly become a team to watch, and the rumor alone is enough to get fans dreaming of highlight reel catches and explosive plays. As the NFL offseason unfolds, all eyes will be on the Raiders' next move, because if this whisper becomes reality, Darnell Mooney could redefine the team's attack in ways Chicago fans might only imagine. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.